Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Arif Mahmood. I develop decision support tools that help in designing effective solutions for complex problems. These tools are successfully applied in solving complex problems in various areas such as business, environment, economics, engineering, management, etc. In today's video, I will demonstrate one of the examples of these tools applied in business sector. Let us dive in. Faster you drive, sooner you will reach to the finish line. But in order to win the race, you must have the abilities to effectively address the challenges that arise when you accelerate. Similarly, faster the business grows, stronger the support it would need to sustain the growth. Otherwise, the growth may not last long, and in some cases, the entire business could be lost. In my last video, I talked about the companies that has a successful growth for a number of years but eventually went bankrupt. If you are interested to know one of the main reasons for failure of these companies, please watch my last video. The link to my last video is given in the description section as well as the top right corner of this video. In today's video, the tool that I will demonstrate is based on a simulation model which was originally developed by Professor Forrester from MIT. The purpose of this tool is to assess the implication of strategies on growth and stability of the business. These tools are simplification of reality but are useful in providing a virtual platform to carry out the what-if scenarios that help us to understand the potential consequences of our decisions before we implement them in real life and eventually lead us to design effective solutions. Before I start demonstrating this tool, the underlying structure of this model is as follows. There are three main processes in the model. The first one is about acquiring the customers through marketing. Once the marketing efforts increases, assume everything else in the system is constant, then most likely the customers will rise. So increase in customers meaning that there will be more revenue. And more revenue gives us the ability to spend more on the marketing in the following years. If this cycle goes on and on, then over time, the customer will increase. There are different ways to strengthen this loop. The first one is increase the spending on marketing. Generally, companies spend 10 to 20% of their annual budget on marketing. But let's see if we are interested to spend 25% or 30% or 5%, whatever amount, what would be the impact of that change on the revenue? That's what we like to analyze through simulation model today. The other way to reinforce this process is to enhance the effectiveness of marketing, meaning that we still spend the same amount of the budget on marketing, but we introduce digital marketing or some other proven method that can improve the marketing outcome. The third factor could be change in the price of services or the product being offered. Once we increase the price, then most likely the revenue will increase, but customers may decline. So the price could be another factor to influence on the performance of this loop. And there could be other ways to reinforce this loop. Regardless, whatever method we employ, if once the customers rise, then there is a possibility that the quality of the services might suffer, meaning that the more customers, some of them may not serve as at their desired level. And then the customer satisfaction might decline. That might be a constraint to bring the more customers. So the loop 1 and loop 2 are working together in real life simultaneously. They're interdependent. The performance of one loop affects the performance of the other loop. So the performance of the loop 2 can be improved by spending on the capacity. Once the quality of services decline, so there is a need to invest in the capacity, meaning that we need to improve our capacity so that the quality of the services should not go beyond our standards. If we keep our standards to the highest level, then we have to upgrade our capacity that serves the needs of the customer so that the customer satisfaction level should not be affected. Now, the loop 3 can be strengthened by different ways. One of the way is to invest in the capacity as needed. So in today's simulation model, we will try to assess the impact of 3 strategies. The first one would be on increasing this marketing budget. Second one would be enhancing the effectiveness of the marketing. And third one would be keeping the standards high enough so that we will spend on capacity expansion as needed. So these 3 scenarios will be tested in our simulation model. Let's jump into the simulation model. This is an interface of the simulation model that we will use in our today's video. The actual model behind this was developed by Professor Forrester from MIT. I just developed only the interface to facilitate running policy scenarios. So there will be three policy scenarios that we will try to test today through this simulation model. The first one would be about the marketing budget. By default, we assume that the 10% of the revenue is spent every month on the marketing efforts. What if we like to change this 10% to 15% or 20%? What would be the impact of that change on the revenue? This is what we would be interested to assess through this simulation model. The second scenario would be about the marketing effectiveness. That refers to employing the effective marketing methods, for example, the digital marketing or any other method that can help to improve the performance of the marketing efforts. Rather than spending more on the marketing, but just employing the effective marketing method that can also help to improve the outcome of the marketing efforts and bring more customers. The third scenario that would be about the customer satisfactions. This refers to no compromise on the quality of services and making investment in the capacity as needed so that the customers are satisfied to their desired level. So on the right side of this window, as you can see, there will be a chart appearing that will display the revenue over time. Horizontal axis is the time and vertical axis is the revenue in dollars per month. So before I run any one of these three scenarios, I would like to create the base situation so that I would be able to compare the outcome of each one of these scenarios with the base to understand what policy scenario works and what does not work. So just run the base scenario. So I will just name the scenario as base 1. So now the model start calculating the revenue over time. As you can see, initially the revenue increases exponentially, but that exponential growth did not last long, and then it start declining. So this is our base case. Now we will try to see what would be the impact of change in the marketing budget from 10 to 20 or so on, and similarly the other scenario. Now let's run the marketing budget. I double the marketing budget, meaning that 100% increase from the default value. This scenario would refer that instead of 10%, we will spend 20% of our revenue on the marketing so that the more customers and more revenue will be generated. So if I rerun this scenario now, I name it as the marketing. So this green line represents the outcome of the marketing strategy. Now that green line has been converted to red, but actually red is the marketing and the green line is the base scenario. Every time once the scenario finish is run, the color of the graph changes to the red one. The red one is the latest scenario. So the base scenario is the green one and the red one is the marketing. So marketing means that we increase the budget from 10 to 20%. As you can see that we expected once you spend more on the marketing, there will be more increase in the revenue. Regardless of these numbers, these numbers I don't think like it matters a lot. These are just hypothetical situation that we are interested in the trend of the model. So the bottom line of this scenario is that the increasing in marketing would give you more gain in the customers, but may not last long. What about if we employ the effective method, meaning that we will use some digital marketing or some other? So let's change it to again extreme condition to 100% increase from the default value of 400. Now it would be double, which is the 800. That refers to the increasing the effectiveness of the marketing. So this time I run again the second scenario. I name it effective. So this yellow line that will be eventually changed color to red line, as you can see here. That red line is the latest scenario that just finished completing, and that refers to the second scenario. The green line is the marketing budget from 10 to 20% increase, and the red line is using the effective marketing method. Both of these scenarios, as you can see, initially it gives you a good growth, but the growth did not last long. Whereas the yellow line is now the one that represents the base scenario. So now we move on to the third scenario and see what would be the impact of focusing on the customer satisfaction, meaning that this time we will make investment as needed so that the customers are satisfied all the time. So I use again the extreme conditions, making it 100% increase in this index and see what would be the impact of the capacity expansion on the revenue. So this time I name it as capacity. Capacity expansion in real life refers to something that can take care of the customer satisfaction by making sure the quality of services are maintained to their desired level and the customers are not
suffered. So as you can see here, this red line is the third scenario, which represents the capacity expansion. When we invested in the capacity, then the customer satisfaction level was not as a constraint in terms of getting more customers. And this is the sustainable strategy. Investing in the capacity would help to retain the customers, while the earlier two strategies are good enough to acquire the customers. But if you like to sustain, the sustainable solution as per this model would be make sure that you are focusing on the customer satisfaction, meaning that you are expanding the capacity as needed. You're not delaying that. If you like to further investigate this, so let's do that. So I can move to the model structure. And so this is the structure of the model that we discussed earlier. As you can see here, in this case, these three graphs that I show you in the previous screen represent the revenue. On the left side is those three loops that we talked about earlier. The loop one is about acquiring customers, loop two is about retaining customers, and loop three about the capacity expansion. So in this menu, it is like we can understand why the revenue is sustained in the third scenario as compared to other two. So the answer is the customer satisfaction. If I double click on the customer satisfaction, you can see that the customer satisfaction in case of the third scenario, which refers here by the blue line. Blue line is the one, if you remember, is the capacity. The customer satisfaction declines as the customer increases, but did not continue declining, and it established an equilibrium point at a higher level as compared to the other scenarios. So customers were satisfied to that level. It means that the revenue were maintained, and the completed orders or the completed customers were more as compared to the other two scenarios. So again, the sustainable solution in this case is the focusing on the capacity so that the customers are satisfied. The good thing about this is that we can look at the any of the variable over time, what is happening. Let's say if I click on salespeople, so this is the trend, getting sales orders or any variable that you are interested, you can just double click and it will display the graph of that. That way we will try to understand what is happening and how that is happening and why that is happening. And that's what is good enough for us to understand and design the strategies that can give us the desired future or can give us the desired result as we expect.
So the takeaway of this video is to focus on the customer satisfaction. That will help to retain the customers. This can be done by investing in capacity. Once we invest in capacity, we would have the ability to offer the quality of services at a higher level. That will make the customers happy. Once the customers are happy, then we don't need to worry about the marketing efforts. They will do the marketing on our behalf. But in general, most of the business owners hesitate to invest in capacity because that requires to compromise on the short-term profit. But keep in mind, the window about making the decisions to invest in capacity is usually small. If you miss that window, the downfall of the business might start. And this is what exactly happened with many companies who had a successful growth but eventually went bankrupt. Thanks for watching my video. In my next video, I will show you more example of the simulation models. Be sure to check out my channel that includes the videos about explaining the underlying process of the complex problems. Such explanation help us to make the effective decisions. Bye for now. See you in my next video.